Welcome back to QuizCat. Are you a pink person or a blue person? 100 rounds, and you just pick your side every single time. Food, fashion, tech, fantasy, animals, it's all in here. No rules, no scores. Just drop your picks in the comments as you go, and let's see which side takes over. I already know which one's going to win, but I want you to prove me wrong. Let's begin. Pink handbag with a heart charm or blue tactical backpack. One screams cute, the other screams ready for anything. Drop your pick in the comments, pink or blue. Sky-high pink heels with bows or steel-toed blue combat boots. One arrived, the other conquered. Which pair is yours? Flowy pink silk scarf or bold blue wool scarf. Same cold evening, completely different energy. Which one are you reaching for? Pink heart-shaped sunglasses or blue aviators. Zero apologies versus effortlessly cool. Which pair lands on your face? Delicate pink rose gold watch or rugged blue dive watch, elegant versus built for the deep end. Which wrist is yours? Pink sequin clutch or blue leather wallet? Party mode versus everyday carry? Which one holds your world? Pink fedora with a ribbon or blue baseball cap. I am the event versus let's just go. Which hat is yours? Pink pearl hoop earrings or blue silver chain necklace. Elegant and noticed versus bold and effortless. Which one? Flowy pink floral dress or sharp blue suit jacket. Romantic versus means business. Which one do you reach for? Pink platform sneakers or blue running shoes? Style versus speed. What are you lacing up? Pastel pink laptop with stickers or blue gaming beast with RGB. Cute versus savage. Which one is on your desk? Pink phone in a fluffy case or rugged blue phone with a heavy-duty case. Adorable versus indestructible. Which one's in your pocket? Pink cat ear headphones or blue noise-canceling sports headphones. Fashion statement versus zone-in mode. Which one? Pink cute wireless mouse or blue gaming mouse with side buttons. Sweet clicks versus serious clicks. Which rules your desk? pastel keyboard or blue keyboard with red backlight, typing on a cloud versus commanding a mission? Which one? Cute pink portable speaker or powerful blue subwoofer takes it everywhere versus rattles the walls. Which is your vibe? Pink mirrorless camera or blue DSLR, stylish and compact versus came here to work. Which one tells your story? Cute pink drone or blue racing drone, gorgeous aerial shots versus pure speed and chaos. What are you flying? Pink smartwatch with silicone strap or blue smartwatch with metal band, comfortable versus sharp. What's counting your steps? Pink tablet in a pastel case or blue tablet with a stylus, scrolling in style versus creating seriously. Which one's in your bag? Pink strawberry ice cream or blue blueberry ice cream. Classic sweet versus bold and unexpected. What are you licking? Pink glazed donut with sprinkles or blue glazed donut. Sweet and cheerful versus a little rebellious for a pastry. Which one? Pink pizza with heart pepperoni or blue pizza with blue cheese. I know, but which one are you actually eating? Pink brioche burger or blue black bun burger? The one you photograph versus the one that doesn't care about photos. Which one? Pink salmon sushi or blue tuna sushi. Delicate and rosy versus bold and deep. What's your order? Pink latte in a heart mug or blue espresso in a travel mug. Everything's going to be okay versus let's get moving. Which starts your morning? Pink macaron or blue macaron? Pinky up versus grab and go. Which one? Pink soda or blue soda tastes like summer versus tastes like confidence. Which one are you sipping? Pink milkshake or blue milkshake, strawberry nostalgia versus bubblegum mystery. Which one are you slurping? Pink cookie with heart chips or blue cookie with blue chips? Made with love versus built for the Cookie Monster. Which one? Pink velvet sofa or blue leather sofa? Glamorous vibe versus yes, I have my life together. Which one are you collapsing into? Pink floral armchair or blue recliner? Curl up with a book versus disappear for 3 hours on a Sunday. Which chair? Pink floral bedspread or blue solid bedspread? Waking up in a garden versus crisp and perfectly organized. Which one's tucking you in? Pink fluffy rug or blue woven rug? Walking on a cloud versus handles everything your home throws at it. Which one? Pink flower lamp or blue metal desk lamp? Softest magical glow versus sharp productivity light. What's lighting your room? Pink lace curtains or blue thick curtains? Let the light in versus full blackout until noon. Which ones are on your windows? Pink flower vase or blue geometric vase? Romantic and lively versus modern and conversation starting. Which one's on your shelf? Pink flower picture frame or blue metal picture frame? Next to fairy lights versus properly curated wall. Which frame? Pink cute wall clock or blue modern wall clock? Smiling on Monday mornings versus design magazine worthy. Which one's ticking? Pink flower pot or blue cactus pot talks to their plants versus forgets to water, but somehow it survives. Which plant parent are you? Pink convertible top-down or blue SUV? Main character energy versus ready for 6 people and a camping trip. Which car is yours? Pink vintage bicycle with a basket or blue mountain bike? French movie moment versus victory fist pump at the top of the trail. Which ride? Pink suitcase with a bow or blue suitcase with wheels? Spotted at baggage claim immediately versus packed with zero wasted space. Which one? Pink life jacket or blue life jacket? Having fun on this boat versus I take water safety very seriously. Which one's strapped on? Pink beach umbrella or blue beach umbrella? The beach instantly looks cuter versus serious setup with chairs and a cooler. Which is your HQ? Pink surfboard or blue surfboard? Everyone on the beach looks twice versus out there for the ride, not the photo. Which board? Pink kayak or blue kayak? Calm reflections and peaceful morning versus rapids, white water and a helmet. Which one? Pink boat or blue boat? Float and let life be beautiful versus full throttle because slow was never your style. Which boat? Pink airplane or blue airplane? Boarding feels like a party versus status and a window seat booked weeks ago. Which flight? Pink train or blue train? The journey eyes the destination versus faster than you can finish your coffee. All aboard, which train? Pink yoga mat or blue yoga mat? Peaceful morning stretch versus showing up to yoga like you're training for the Olympics. Which mat? Pink dumbbell or blue dumbbell? Makes the workout feel fun versus you mean business. Which weight are you grabbing? Pink jump rope or blue jump rope? Skipping with tricks versus CrossFit double unders that terrify everyone. Which rope? Pink tennis racket or blue tennis racket? Look amazing on court versus your serve makes people nervous. Which racket? Pink basketball or blue basketball? Most unexpected thing on the court. Respect versus battle-tested and been through everything. Which ball? Pink football or blue football? Bold surprise that commands attention versus belongs in a championship. Which one are you throwing? Pink skateboard or blue skateboard? Tricks with music playing and everyone watches versus too focused on landing it to care. Which board? Pink helmet or blue helmet? Easy to spot and incredibly cute versus research the safety ratings before buying. Pink soccer ball or blue soccer ball changes the energy of the whole field versus the ball serious players train with. Which one? Pink golf club, or blue golf club, turns heads at every hole versus been playing since they were 12. Which club? Pink pencil case or blue pencil case, stickers on the outside versus labeled sections inside. Which one carries your supplies? Pink textbook or blue textbook? Highlighters and sticky notes everywhere versus reads once and remembers everything. Which one? Pink floral notebook or blue leather notebook? Opens like a garden versus commands respect in every meeting. Which notebook? Pink pen or blue pen? Strangers borrow and never return versus shows up in your pocket every single day. Which pen? Pink eraser or blue eraser? Erases beautifully versus erases the pencil and sometimes the paper. Which one? Pink ruler or blue ruler? Measuring in style versus means it when drawing a straight line. Which ruler? Pink calculator or blue calculator? Punching numbers and somehow it's fun versus functions nobody else knows exist. Which one? Pink stapler or blue stapler? People compliment it before borrowing versus has been stapling for 15 years and will staple for 15 more. Which stapler? Pink tape dispenser or blue tape dispenser? Too pretty to use versus always loaded, always ready. Which one's on your desk? Pink file folder or blue file folder? Brings you joy every time versus has never lost a document in their life. Which folder? Pink cat or blue dog comes to you on their own terms versus absolutely obsessed with you. Independent love or unconditional love? Pink hamster or blue hamster? Probably named Marshmallow versus breaks out of the cage twice a week. Which one? Pink bird or blue bird? Whistles to music every morning versus talks back and mimics your ringtone. Which bird? Pink fish or blue fish? Peaceful and meditative to watch versus you start talking to it after week 2. Which fish? bunny or blue bunny sits perfectly still for an hour versus zooming around knocking everything over? Which bunny? Pink turtle or blue turtle teaches you patience versus looks like it's carrying ancient wisdom in that shell. Which turtle? Pink frog or blue frog? Instantly want to show everyone versus scientists actually get excited. Which frog? Pink butterfly or blue butterfly? Summer garden childhood memory versus stops you in your tracks and you can't look away. Which butterfly? Pink bee or blue bee? Most cheerful pollinator ever versus makes you Google, do blue bees exist immediately? Which bee? Pink ladybug or blue ladybug? Soft sign today's going to be great versus the universe is specifically trying to get your attention. Which one lands on your hand? Pink magic wand or blue magic sword? Spells that sparkle and transform versus power you feel through the ground. Which weapon is yours? Pink unicorn or blue dragon? Every journey feels like a fairy tale versus every challenge feels like a battle you're going to win. Which companion? Pink fairy or blue knight? Tiny but saves the entire kingdom versus stands between you and everything without blinking. Which protector? Pink princess castle or blue pirate ship? Rose gardens and magical rooms versus treasure maps and open ocean. Where are you living? Pink magic carpet or blue jetpack? Cities below like tiny paintings versus blazing through the sky screaming from pure adrenaline. Which one? Pink potion or blue potion? Grants a wish gently versus unlocks something incredible with a warning label. Which bottle are you uncorking? Pink crystal ball or blue crystal ball? Warm futures and love stories versus epic journeys almost too big to handle. Which one? Pink crown or blue crown leads with grace and wins hearts versus fought for every inch of that kingdom. Which crown? Pink shield or blue shield deflects darkness with magic versus taking 1,000 blows and still standing. Which shield? Pink treasure chest or blue treasure chest? Opens with golden light and changes life gently versus electric blue light and changes everything. Which chest? Pink roller skates or blue roller skates? Everyone watches you at the rink versus here to actually win the rink. Which skates? Pink fishing rod or blue fishing rod? Don't mind if you catch nothing. The moment is enough versus absolutely not going home empty-handed. Which rod? Pink telescope or blue telescope, moon and planets, and it's romantic enough versus tracking a specific comet for 6 months. Which telescope? Pink acoustic guitar or blue electric guitar? Campfire songs and bedroom recordings versus stages. Sound checks, crowds screaming for more. Which guitar? Pink vintage microphone or blue studio microphone, showstopper holding it up when the crowd goes wild versus voice that reaches millions. Which mic? Pink drum or blue drum makes everyone move without realizing it versus you feel it in your chest. Which drum? Pink trumpet or blue trumpet feels like a parade started outside your window versus the hero just walked on screen. Which trumpet? Pink violin or blue violin makes people cry without knowing why versus leaves audiences completely speechless. Which violin? Pink cello or blue cello wraps around you like a blanket versus tells you something important is about to happen. Which cello? Pink piano or blue piano? Every beautiful feeling put into music versus performances people remember for the rest of their lives. This is your final answer, pink or blue. If you made it to round 100, drop a 100 in the comments. And we are done. 100 rounds, 0 wrong answers. And now the comments are going to tell the whole story. Are you pink? Are you blue? Maybe even a little bit of both. Let me know below. And if you enjoyed this, you know what to do. See you in the next one.